the foreclosure world, why are they so? Why is it such a more, fine-tooth comb that New York goes through? Is it just because there's so many people living so close to each other that the square footing created this, I guess, for lack of a better word, culture of there being the fees so high and there being so many violations that exist?
I think it's because New York, you got scammers. Scamming people.
You think so? It was solely to combat scammers.
There's a lot of scams, to my knowledge, of people getting like their house sold from under them.
Yes,
so
a lot of
that's
that.
a big thing.
Can you explain what he's talking about? How do you get your house sold from under you?
Well, I like to say it like this: New York City has con men. Georgia and Florida, they have the scammers. There's a difference.
Yeah.
Okay.
The con.
He's right.
Okay, yeah.
Can you say that again?
New York has con men, right?
Right.
Places like Florida and Georgia, they have scammers.
Okay.
So there's a difference, right? The con man is the type of person who comes up to you on the street. He has a suit on, looking real nice, and then next thing you know, you're butt naked and he's running down the street and he's selling your clothes off to somebody else, right? Yeah. It's someone who you think is respectable, you think is a business person, right? But then you realize that this person is none of that, right? Mm-hmm. They'll come to your house. They're like, oh, well, I can help you refinance your home. I'm an attorney. I used to work on Wall Street. I do all this stuff. And then you realize that no, not any of that, right? Mm-hmm. Scammer is someone who steals your old people's credit card numbers and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. It's a different level of sophistication.
Scammers are like Ocean 11.
Yeah.
If you've seen that movie.
Yeah. But the thing is, we encounter a good number of these people, right? These con people, because what they'll do, especially in Brooklyn, right? Because Brooklyn, number one, has the largest population in New York City.
Brooklyn all day.
Yeah. And also Brooklyn has the largest number of senior citizens in New York City, right? And obviously property values have essentially doubled over the last 15 years. Mm-hmm. So yeah, properties in Williamsburg and Bed-Stuy, weren't
3 million, easy.
No, easy. A lot of these properties. I one client, house is beautiful. It's massive, and it's worth like $3 million. But he bought it 30, 40 years ago,
like 15,000, 30,000.
A little bit more than that. But the thing is, it's the property values increased 30 times, mm-hmm. right, during that time period. And you have a lot of people who they want those homes. They want to get into the market, right? And that's why real estate is such a tough market. I mean, Shawn was saying, right? He started buying properties in other states where there are more opportunities, right? Where he can just look at the numbers and you don't have to deal. Number one, people going to people's homes and basically knocking on their door saying, "Oh, I'll give you this for your home. Let's do a short sale. Let's refinance your home." And the next thing you know, this person finds out 6 months later that their deed was transferred into the name of some LLC that they don't know where the LLC came from, and the LLC is trying to sell the property to somebody, right? Like you see it all the time, and that's why the Attorney General, Letitia James, actually started a special task force with respect to these deed scams. So. It's something, and I would advise, anyone listening to this podcast, if you have parents, they're elderly, they may be living alone, please register for acris.org. It's basically the New York City's electronic deed storing system. So your mortgage, like if you take out a mortgage, it's probably going to be there. Every deed transfer that occurs is going to be there. So if you, let's say, someone transfers a deed out of your name, let's say they just forge your signature, or sometimes, let's say, someone working in your property will have you, like the person sign a lot of papers and one of the documents is a deed, and they register it. It's going to appear on Acris, and then you're going to get a notification. You can get a notification by text, you can get a notification by phone, you can get a notification by email. Mm-hmm. And I would advise that everyone do that on their properties because you can never be too careful with that stuff.
I got to call my grandma right now, because she got a spot in Bensonhurst, man, and she keep getting people knocking on her door trying to cop the crib. So
no, you should.
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah. That's crazy.
How do you spell that?
Acris, ACRIS.
Acris. I feel like I've seen that acronym somewhere
Just
before.
Google it. NYC Access.
It'll come right up. And so because we got so many, con men in New York City, to combat that, the legal system has created this very strenuous, check system. This system of making of this is a violation, that's a violation, and those violations being very high. Like he was saying in Maryland, the same violation here over there would be a tenth of the price, or
So that's a little different, right? So I mean, there are a few structures to it, right? So you have like what I call a judicial foreclosure system. So just for anyone who doesn't know, right? Certain states have what's called judicial and then non-judicial foreclosure systems. And some states have hybrids, like Maryland, right? Judicial foreclosure system, all that means is you have to go through a full court case to get to the actual foreclosure auction. Now, if you get a decent attorney, that attorney may stretch that case out for years. I have people with cases from 2014, 2015. I have people who haven't paid their mortgage in like 10 years, and we're still in court because they had decent representation during that time. Non-judicial foreclosure systems are basically like a lot of like southern states, right? You sign a note in a mortgage, right? Let's say you don't pay for 4 months. The sheriff's knocking on your door, and they're having an auction right outside, and there goes your house, right? And then you have
you could still be in the house.
Well, I mean,
like you in the bed sleeping, you wake up, yo, my man, you got to get out. This is my crib, boy. I just copped this shit for $20. Leave the Jordans, bro. Take the rest of your shit and go.
It's a wild, wild south, man.
Yeah, right.
Pretty much, and they may do so at gunpoint.
That's
crazy.
Get off my lawn now.
but then you have like these states that are kind of like quasi, right? So if you got to look at the documentation you sign, and sometimes like the note and the mortgage just say that they can foreclose on the home without having to go to court, right? In some situations they do. But luckily for everyone who lives in New York State, you don't have to worry about it. So what we do basically, when I work for a non-for-profit, people come to us, they say, oh, I just got what's called a summons and complaint, right? I mean, just like you sue somebody, you have to serve them with a summons and complaint, letting them know, like, what your problem is, right? And they'll come to us, we'll file what's called an answer for them, and then we try to help them settle the case. Now, I mean, it's no secret. You need you need money to own a home, right? It's not like some people come to us, they're like, I really want to save my home. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, so how much are you making a month? Well, I'm not working right now. Are you receiving any Social Security? What are you receiving? I'm not really receiving any money. Do you have tenants? It's like, yeah, but they're not paying. It's like, what do I do? You know? And that's a tough situation for a lot of people. And I think that's one of the things that forces a lot of people out, right? Like they had jobs for many years, and then next thing you know, they'll refinance, they'll do something else with the property, and then they just don't have the money. Some people, I have plenty of clients who were making good money when they were younger. Now they're like 75, 80 years old, and they're not making anything, or they're getting paid like $800 a month in Social Security, and that's it.
So it's safe to say that it not only takes money to buy a home, but it takes money to hold on to your home.
Yeah, and there are a lot of pitfalls to owning a home in New York City, because this is what people do. I mean, unfortunately, everyone cannot be as financially savvy as Shawn is, right? While looking at the numbers. So I feel like a lot of my clients fall into maybe like 2 or 3 classes of people, right? You have number one, the people who got bad mortgages from the beginning, right? That maybe the interest rate went up after a few years, and they thought, okay, well, I just really want a home. I really want a home, because most people think about a home. This is like they would think about kids, like on an emotional level, right? And they say, oh, I really want a home. I really want a home. They'll get a product that'll get them in the home. Exactly. We don't see as much of those anymore, but it's the same thing. It's adjustable rate mortgage. So basically,
we'll get an arm. Oh, like that.
Or if the bank sticking an arm out to take the house back.
Right. Or they cut your arm off.
But basically, the whole concept of the arm is, let's say you get in a home, right? It's originally like the interest rate's 2%, and you're like, oh, this is great. I'm paying $2,000 a month. It's a little tough, but our family, we can manage it, right? 3 years later, interest rate jumps up to 4%. Then you're like, oh wait, now the mortgage is like $2,800 a month. Whoa, and But people don't look at that stuff, right? You don't see as much of it anymore because after the financial crisis in 08, 09, the federal government became stricter on like their lending criteria, right? So you don't see as much anymore, some of the older stuff. So that's one class of people. People who kind of were, I don't say doomed, but doomed from the beginning, right? It was just
Sean,
a bad situation.
Shawn, what was like? Obviously, I feel like we're putting these on two sides, really successful and fucking depressing. I kind of want to.
Bro, we help a lot of people.
Take a second and just go through what was your experiences with all these elements that Peter's talking about. Like what was the learning curve on figuring out the finances towards
to buy the home?
like to buy the home, or even like have you had any bad experiences touching these areas?
No. It's like
But he does the numbers, right?
Yeah,
Like,
right, yeah,
it's
yeah.
not.
So
it's
these
not
are the
a-
people who aren't doing the work.
Yes.
Up front.
this
they
is the thing.
buy off emotional circumstances
Right.
when they buy those houses based off, oh, this is a beautiful kitchen, this is a beautiful bathroom, but
they see their families in
so
there.
I-
and
Like,
stuff.
I bought
that's
my
the
homies
worst
in
way
the
to buy a
backyard.
home.
Yeah.